Hi, I'm Gary Decker, your spiritual fitness coach, and I'm here to talk to you about growing in gentleness. When we talk about gentleness, we're talking about your character. In other words, we are talking about the type of person you are, especially when you are in the presence of others. Are you mean and inconsiderate and always wanting your own way? Or are you kind, considerate, and put others ahead of yourself? Looking at me on this video, you may have the misconception that I was always a gentle person, a kind person, never inconsiderate, and never putting myself first. I mean, really. If you look at me, would you see someone who is mean and inconsiderate of others? Really? Well, let me tell you, that was the way I was. That was the old me. I'd get mad easily, and as the saying goes, I blew my top. My anger hurt my relationship with others, primarily within my own family. You see, I knew enough not to show this side of me out in public. For me, things changed when I began spending more time in the presence of God. Let me tell you a little story to illustrate my point. My grandfather was a blacksmith. He repaired things made of iron, and he made things by hand. I remember him putting on huge gloves. Then with a special tong, he would take a blob of hot metal out of his forge. This metal was white hot. My grandfather would take this hot metal to his anvil, and with a heavy hammer, he'd start pounding on it. Sparks flew everywhere. With a heavy hammer, my grandfather would pound that blob of hot metal into the shape he wanted. That blob of hot metal was me. The man with that heavy hammer was not my grandfather, but God Himself. God has shaped me into the man I am today. Was this painful at times? Yes. But I'm pleased to tell you that God is in the reshaping business. He molds and shapes our character to be more like His dear, precious Son, Jesus Christ. Another person we might consider as an example of how God reshapes us into the man or woman He wants us to be would be the Apostle Paul. The Bible tells us that Paul was very active in trying to destroy the early Christian church. All the details of what he was doing aren't important here, but what Jesus did is. One day, Paul and a group of his friends were riding toward a city when Jesus stopped them in their tracks. Jesus came to Paul and changed him immediately from a man who hated others, especially those who followed Jesus, into a man who loved others and loved Jesus. God molded and reshaped a man of hatred and violence into a man who could tell a personal story of how God transformed him to be more Christ-like. Later, Paul would write these words describing what God does to us through the power of the Holy Spirit. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. You see, God is in the molding and shaping business. He alone causes us to grow in gentleness. It's a free gift to you. So put yourself into God's hands. Be in His Word and allow Him to grow you in gentleness. And for today's challenge, ask yourself this question: how can I share the gentleness of Jesus with the people I do life with today? Just start. You can do it. Now go win today.